When you first jump into Illusion Connect 3, it's easy to think that every SSR partner is worth building, but after playing for a while, you'll quickly realize that's not the case. With 29 different SSR partners to choose from, figuring out who deserves your resources can be pretty overwhelming. Some characters can carry almost any team you put them in, while others only shine when paired with very specific teammate traits. That's exactly what this tier list is here to help with. In this video, we'll rank every SSR partner based on their overall DPS, crowd control, support potential, and how well they fit into different team compositions. Whether you're looking for the strongest all-around units or trying to build the perfect synergy for your favorite team, this list will help you make smarter choices and avoid wasting valuable resources. So let's get started and find out which partners truly deserve a spot on your roster. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking partners in Illusion Connect 3. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The partners in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ashwaya, Astaroth, Camille, Hachishiki, Maki, the Enforcers, and Vivian. You know that awkward moment when a partner looks decent on paper, but once the battle starts, you realize there is a very specific reason they are sitting in the middle of the tier list. That is exactly what is happening with these next partners. They all have something genuinely useful to offer, but every one of them comes with enough drawbacks to stop them from becoming reliable picks in every lineup. If you build around their strengths, they can absolutely shine. If you do not, they can feel surprisingly underwhelming. Let's start with Astaroth. She is one of those partners who waits until the worst possible moment to become useful. When Astaroth is defeated, she restores 400 rage and heals your leader, which can completely change the outcome of a close fight. The problem is that her biggest contribution only happens after she is already gone. On top of that, she really wants Barina's on the team to unlock her strongest passive abilities. Without that support, her overall damage and utility simply cannot compete with stronger support partners. She can save the day, but asking your support to get knocked out before becoming valuable is a pretty unusual business plan. Now let's talk about Maki, whose philosophy is basically delete one enemy and ask questions later. Her single target damage is absolutely devastating, and fragile enemies can disappear before they even have a chance to fight back. Unfortunately, that is where most of the story ends. She brings almost no crowd control, very little team utility, and struggles whenever multiple enemies start filling the battlefield. She also performs best in lineups specifically designed to maximize her burst potential. When everything lines up, she is terrifying. When it does not, she can feel like a very expensive solution to only one problem. Vivian is a much more tactical partner. Her biggest trick is reducing the energy cost of the next deployed partner by 9 energy, allowing for some creative plays that can completely change your opening turns. Timing, however, is everything. If you waste that discount or cannot capitalize on it immediately, much of Vivian's value disappears. After her initial energy effect has been used, she contributes relatively modest damage compared to many other partners. She rewards smart planning, but she definitely expects you to do your homework before bringing her into battle. Ashwaya is all about scaling, but only if everything goes according to plan. She gains 22% attack for every active Wandering Nightmare on the field, meaning her damage can become incredibly impressive under the right circumstances. The catch is that those summons actually need to stay alive. Against teams with heavy area of effect damage, those nightmares often disappear before they can provide much value, leaving Ashwaya looking far less threatening than expected. She is a strong choice for summon-focused teams, but outside of those specialized compositions, it is difficult for her to consistently reach her full potential. Hachishiki is probably one of the more unpredictable partners in this tier. Permanently reducing an enemy's damage resistance by 20% is a fantastic debuff that increases your entire team's damage output. That alone sounds amazing. Then Frenzy decides to remind everyone that chaos exists. After triggering it, Hachishiki has a chance to stun herself, and much of her overall performance depends on random chance. Her team synergy restrictions can also interfere with certain partners, making team building a little more awkward than you might expect. She can absolutely carry her weight, but sometimes she also decides to become her own biggest obstacle. Camille and the Enforcers both earn their place here for completely different reasons. Camille is incredibly difficult to take down thanks to her massive shields, taunt effects, and self-healing, making her an excellent choice for long battles where survival matters more than raw damage. The downside is that her offensive power is noticeably below average for a frontline unit, so securing eliminations is rarely her specialty. Meanwhile, the Enforcers are almost the opposite story. They can be fantastic in summon-focused teams by reducing energy costs and strengthening summoned units, but their usefulness falls off dramatically outside that specific strategy. If your team is not built around summons, they quickly lose much of the impact that makes them worth considering in the first place. The partners in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Barina's, Diana, Eileen, Frantiva, Jemmy, Hotaru, Lunar, and Yuffie. This is where things start getting interesting, because the partners in B tier are constantly trying to convince you that they belong one tier higher. Sometimes they absolutely do, other times they remind you exactly why they are stuck here. They all have powerful strengths, but each one also comes with a catch that keeps them from becoming automatic picks for every single team. Hotaru is a great example of a partner that can completely ruin an enemy's day when everything lines up perfectly. She brings useful crowd control by inflicting stun, and her passive combo attacks can deal impressive damage, especially when multiple enemies are standing in the same column. Unfortunately, getting those perfect situations is not always easy. Her performance depends a lot on enemy positioning and random chance, so while she can occasionally look incredible, she is not nearly as consistent as the top damage dealers. Luna is built around explosive area of effect damage, and when the enemy decides to stand in the middle column, they are about to regret that decision. Her abilities can deal 335% damage across that column, making her an excellent burst option for clearing groups of enemies. One of her coolest mechanics is being able to enter the battlefield for only 1 energy after enough units have fallen. It sounds amazing, but those conditions are not always easy to meet. Outside of delivering huge area of effect bursts, she does not offer much additional utility to the team. Frantiva has one of the strangest game plans in the roster. She already delivers powerful single target burst damage while she is alive, but the real fun begins after she is defeated. Upon death, she summons 3 shadows that continue contributing extra damage, giving your team additional pressure even after she leaves the battlefield. The downside is pretty obvious. Depending on your partner, getting eliminated before reaching full value is far from ideal, and aside from her death-triggered mechanic, she offers very little support to the rest of the team. Jemmy is basically the partner who refuses to accept defeat. She can revive twice during a single battle, forcing enemies to deal with her over and over again. That durability makes her especially useful for difficult progression stages and extended fights. Since her damage scales with health points, she performs particularly well against bulky tanks and bosses with massive health pools. The only catch is that she focuses almost entirely on dealing damage, and after her second resurrection, her offensive power drops enough that she becomes much less threatening. Diana is the kind of support partner that instantly makes your leader breathe a little easier. The moment she enters the battlefield, she restores 1/3 of your leader's health points, which can completely stabilize difficult encounters. She also provides reliable healing for injured allies throughout the fight, making her an excellent choice for progression content. However, healing is not always guaranteed to solve every problem. Teams using anti-heal effects can significantly reduce her effectiveness, and her own damage output is fairly limited compared to many other support options. Barina's is all about patience. He can revive himself once per battle, creating those dramatic comeback moments where opponents think they have already won. His ultimate also grants attack and defense buffs based on the number of enemies it hits, allowing him to become increasingly dangerous as the battle continues. The downside is that he needs time before reaching his full potential. Early in the fight, he is much easier to deal with, so protecting him until he scales is often the biggest challenge. Finally, we have Yuffie and Eileen, 2 partners that shine in very different ways. Yuffie is fantastic for sorcerer-focused teams because she increases all allied area of effect damage by 16.5%, while also dealing extra damage to high-energy enemies. She speeds up stage clearing dramatically, but outside of magic-heavy compositions, her value drops quite a bit. Eileen, meanwhile, focuses on keeping everyone alive by granting 15% damage resistance to both allies and your leader. She also has an area of effect stun that can create huge combo opportunities, although with only a 20% activation chance, you are sometimes left hoping the random number generator decides to cooperate. Both are excellent specialists, but neither has the consistency needed to break into the highest tiers. The partners in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Angela, Chaturaji, Gagaku, Kasumi, Kiraya, Nicola, Rotania, Selena, and Charlotte. Now we are getting into the partners that can genuinely carry matches. These are the characters you will see in plenty of successful teams because they consistently deliver strong value. None of them are completely flawless, otherwise they would already be sitting in the top tier, but their strengths are powerful enough that building around them is almost always a good idea. Nicola is one of the strongest damage amplifiers you can bring into a fight. She reduces enemy damage resistance by 33% for 3 full rounds, allowing your entire team to hit dramatically harder. Better yet, she naturally targets enemies with the highest health points, making her excellent at breaking through tanks and bulky frontliners that usually slow battles down. She even has lifesteal to help keep herself alive. The problem is that she lacks real defensive tools, so burst-heavy enemy teams can remove her before she has enough time to fully support the rest of your lineup. Chaturaji takes a very different approach by flooding the battlefield with 6 chess pieces. Each summon attacks with its own range, creating constant pressure across multiple positions while also increasing the area of effect damage enemies receive. As if that was not enough, Chaturaji deals extra damage directly to the enemy leader, making her especially dangerous in aggressive strategies that want to finish battles quickly. The trade-off is simple. Almost her entire kit revolves around dealing damage, so if you are looking for healing, crowd control, or defensive utility, you will need to find that somewhere else. Karaya is the definition of a reliable frontline partner. She enters battle protected by a massive shield worth 40% of her maximum health points, allowing her to absorb huge amounts of punishment from the very beginning. On top of that, she reduces enemy rage recovery by 60%, slowing down powerful ultimate abilities before they become a problem. She even shares shield protection with allies, making the entire team more durable. Of course, spending so much effort on defense means her own damage output is noticeably lower than what dedicated attackers can produce. Angela continues the theme of incredible utility. The moment she enters the battlefield, she revives a defeated ally with 70% of their health points while also protecting herself with a shield equal to 30% of her maximum health. Things get even better because she can taunt every enemy at once while gaining 80% damage resistance, allowing her to absorb an unbelievable amount of pressure for the rest of the team. She is one of the most valuable late-game supports available. Just do not expect her to win fights through raw damage because that has never been her job. Selena feels almost impossible to remove once she gets going. She boosts her maximum health by 33% and can survive fatal damage twice during the same battle, making her one of the toughest partners in the entire roster. While refusing to fall over, she also delivers excellent single target damage and heals your leader at the same time, combining offense and protection in a very efficient package. Her only real weakness is that she does not bring much crowd control or team-wide buffing, so her focus stays firmly on survival and sustained pressure. Rotania is a partner that absolutely loves crowded battlefields. She gains 7% damage rate and 3% critical hit rate for every enemy currently alive, allowing her power to snowball when facing full enemy formations. Combined with her impressive area of effect attacks, she can wipe out groups with remarkable speed, making her especially valuable in player versus environment content. The downside appears once enemies begin falling. As the battlefield empties, her scaling bonuses shrink, causing her damage to become much less consistent during the later stages of longer fights. Kasumi has one of the most satisfying abilities in the game. The moment she enters battle, she steals every enemy shield and every invincibility effect, instantly turning defensive strategies into a complete disaster for the opposing team. She also gains additional critical damage and extra offensive power, making her an excellent follow-up attacker. The catch is that every attack costs her some of her own health points, so while she hits incredibly hard, she is also much easier to eliminate if enemies manage to focus her down. Charlotte is practically made for summon-based teams. Whenever an allied spirit is defeated, she gains 1000 rage, allowing her to unleash her ultimate much more frequently than most partners. Her already impressive area of effect damage becomes even stronger against enemies marked as murderers, creating devastating chain attacks in the right composition. However, outside of teams that constantly generate spirits, her rage generation slows dramatically, and a large part of her potential simply disappears. Finally, there is Gagaku, a partner that keeps applying pressure from start to finish. She summons up to 3 spirit foxes that constantly occupy space and force opponents to react. Whenever one of those foxes is defeated, Gagaku gains a massive 150% attack damage bonus against low health enemies, making her extremely effective at finishing weakened targets. She performs well in both player versus environment and player versus player content. Although her foxes only have 1 health point, meaning area of effect attacks can remove them almost instantly before they generate maximum value. Even so, when everything comes together, Gagaku easily proves why she belongs in A tier. The partners in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Fenebeth, Miyuki, Phoebe, Yume, and Anna. And here we are, the partners that almost every player hopes to pull sooner rather than later. These are the units that can completely reshape a battle on their own, fit into almost any lineup, and stay relevant from the early game all the way to the toughest endgame content. Whether you are focusing on player versus environment or player versus player, these are the names you will see again and again because they simply refuse to fall out of the meta. Miyuki earns her place at the very top with one of the most oppressive kits in the entire game. She removes 330 rage from her targets, while also draining 200 rage from the enemy leader, delaying ultimate abilities so effectively that some opponents barely get a chance to use them at all. While shutting down enemy momentum, she is also dealing area of effect damage across the entire battlefield, giving her both crowd control and reliable damage in one complete package. The best part is that Miyuki does not need a complicated team built around her. She fits naturally into almost every composition and performs brilliantly in every game mode, making her one of the safest investments you can make. Phoebe is another partner that feels unfair once she starts doing her job. Even after being defeated, she can revive herself and return to battle with even stronger offensive stats, forcing opponents to deal with her all over again. Before that happens, she weakens every enemy by reducing their defense by 50% for 10 seconds, allowing your entire team to deal dramatically higher damage. Add in her excellent area of effect attacks, and you have a partner that contributes both massive personal damage and incredible team support. Whether you enjoy player versus player or player versus environment, Phoebe delivers elite performance without demanding any specialized lineup. Anna proves that a great support can sometimes be even more valuable than another damage dealer. Simply by standing on the battlefield, she increases every ally's damage rate and damage resistance rate by 16.5%, boosting both offense and survivability at the same time. Her powerful healing keeps the entire team healthy throughout long battles, and because she continuously generates her own rage, she can cast those healing abilities much more frequently than most other supports. The result is a partner that constantly strengthens your team while making everyone significantly harder to defeat, which is exactly why Anna belongs in almost every type of lineup. Fenebeth and Yume complete this incredible S-tier roster in very different ways. Fenebeth completely shuts down healing strategies by placing a battlefield-wide curse that transforms healing into damage for 2 rounds, while also dealing curse damage every round and reducing enemy attack by 40%. Even after she is defeated, she continues reapplying her curse, ensuring that her impact lasts far beyond her time on the battlefield. Then there is Yume, who quietly controls the pace of the entire fight. She reduces enemy rage regeneration by 20% for the whole battle, grants herself and every ally 25% defense penetration, delivers an enormous 420% single target attack, steals 300 rage from priority targets, and can even stun enemies that reach 0 rage. Between these two partners, one punishes survival while the other controls momentum, making both of them outstanding choices in virtually every game mode. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.